You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie at 6:34. I've just got to bring you this. Talk about working in old age, and if we live longer, we've got to work longer. Because what the French are protesting about. Baz from Cardiff, morning Baz, says it's okay for Stephen to say work for longer. Try working on building site past 50. That's 35 years plus on cold hard graft, not sitting on your rear reading an auto cue. And do you know what, Baz? I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. This is not like working on a building site. It's not even like working indoors at a factory. I used to work in a shoe factory.
Did you?
Years ago. I used to make shoes, yeah.
What kind of shoes?
Well, all sorts of shoes.
Oh, great.
And that's not like working on a building site, but that was actually hard work. So you're absolutely right, Baz, on that one.
Yeah, that's hard graft.
All credit to you. This type of work is a lot easier to do for longer than actually slogging away.
Yeah.
So, fair point.
Yep, point well made, Baz. And Mary says she agrees with the French outrage. Our retirement age has gone up to the point that many will not be able to enjoy their retirement. That's a good point. Recently, it was reported that our life expectancy was lowering again. Will they reduce the retirement age? Never.
Well, yes. No, that's not right, though, Mary. Just to correct you, it's not. Our life expectancy isn't lowering. It was a misleading headline. What it is our life expectancy is not growing as quickly as some other countries, but it is still going up.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. We're going to live longer, so therefore we've got to work longer. But you both make valid points.
Yeah,
there you go.
But we're talking about the protests in France about upping the retirement age there. It's not going down well with the French. Let us know what you make of that. gbnews@gbnews.uk.
Let's look at the newspapers for you. And in the Express this morning, attention is drawn to King Charles and that visit to France being postponed amid pension protests in the capital.
The Eye leads with the King reportedly seeking a more active role in UK diplomacy as he reveals his disappointment with not being able to lead the Brexit reset in France this weekend.
The Times has King Charles' first state visit being postponed after Macron warned it would become the target of nationwide revolt.
As with most front pages this morning, the Mail also gives light to the postponement of King Charles' state visit to France.
Macron surrenders to the mob, the headline, which seems a bit... I don't know, you've got to think about safety and logistics and all that. And the Telegraph says the UK reset with EU in disarray after that visit is cancelled.
And the Mirror leads to something entirely different. It leads to the man with severe toothache travelling to war-torn Ukraine in order to seek care after failing to get NHS treatment.
And finally, the front page of The Star leads with baguettes being blamed for a global pandemic of wind.
Very polite way of putting it.
It's how I'm phrasing it. I don't like the other word.
No, neither do I.
So you're not saying it later, Peter. You are not.
Got to behave yourself.
Yes, because Emma Wolf is here and legendary broadcaster Pete Price. So behave yourselves this morning.
I can't say the word.
No.
Oh, you might as well get rid of me
I'm
now then.
squeamish about
They've
words
only
like
given me that story to say the word.
Passing wind.
We'll challenge you not to say the word.
Anyway, we'll come to that in a moment. In the meantime, Pete, the Express, looking at the visit to France.
Yeah, I think it's right that King Charles doesn't go to France. It's dangerous. It's incredibly dangerous. Do you know what I think is sad about it? I understand them demonstrating about the problem about age and what Baz said about working on the Building Society. I understand what he means, but also to keep active keeps you young. I really, really, really think that's important to keep young.
But will you give up when you get to 60 or 62, Pete?
Stop trying to pull me. You know you're married, man. There's no need for that sort of talk. I think, going back to France, I think what is sad is the violence. I think it's absolute, and they do it all the time. But who are the people that are doing the violence? That's what bothers me, because there's a lot of people that just want to demonstrate and make their point.
They do, but there are 1 million people out on the streets, not just in Paris, but across France. And I was talking to a friend who lives lives down in the south of France. She said it's not just about the pensions, it's young people as well. It's a lot of pent-up anger. And you know what? The French do it properly.
But
the French are out on the streets, and I don't condone the violence, and there's a picture on the front of the Times which I urge people to look at. It's one of these beautiful sort of avenue in Paris, which is absolutely in flames, effectively. Rubbish piled high, bin bags piled up to the shop windows. You know, those beautiful boutiques.
Yeah, but when you see those buildings burning down...
There are general strikes, there are transport strikes, refuse strikes. Yeah. People are angry about all the things that we're angry about. Cost of living, the fact that the government don't seem to be helping, energy prices, all of that. Living standards plummeting. And in France, they take to the streets, and it is a very, it's a real tinge of
But they've just done the Gilets jaunes thing, haven't they? That went on. Did that do them any good?
No, I'm not saying it doesn't any good, but there's pent-up anger amongst people, and in France, they go, you know... Like
well, they do, but isn't the problem the pandemic? Everyone forgets we've had a world pandemic, which has now got to be paid for by every country.
To be paid for, but hang on, remember 1968? They do pretty well on strikes in France, with or without a pandemic, so this is their thing.
Yeah, but I don't like the violence. It's dreadful to see. It's a beautiful city. But, you know, I said years ago when the French did it, we should block the tunnel, stop them coming over. You know,
Give over, Pete.
No, when they get violent, I get
violent. What are people supposed to do when they feel powerless? I'm not condoning...
What are we supposed to do about the pandemic? Somebody's got to pay for the pandemic. Everyone's forgetting the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point.
Got to be paid for, sadly.
Talking of people coming over, Pete, let's have a look at the Telegraph, Emma. Migrants could be moved to ferries.
Yeah, this is in a Telegraph, and part of Rishi Sunak's, attempt to crack down on migrants coming over, and also to look tough, to talk tough, and to look tough about migrants, asylum seekers coming over. At the moment, the cost of hotels is around £7 million a day, and we know there's been a real focus in many coastal towns, but also just towns generally, for anti-immigration, pro and anti-immigration protests, and violence has broken out around hotels. So Rishi Sunak is proposing early next week to be declaring the end of asylum hotels. Asylum seekers will instead be housed in former military bases and or ferries. So the plans, I think they were going to be using student accommodation and holiday camps. Those plans have been quietly shelved. But again, then there's protests around the military bases where people don't want migrants. They're not welcome. It's not a welcome influx. It's like gypsies. Nobody wants them in their area. So, we'll see how this one goes. There is concern that £7 million a day. I don't think you can pretend that people are living in luxury.
No.
But four-star country houses on rural estates have been used to house people.
Have we got enough ferries? Because the ferries idea was mooted. Raised by people years ago. How many ferries have we got afloat?
And then you have to staff them, and you have to deal with all the, This is going to be for adult single males, so it won't be families. Let's see if this works. They want to have a deterrent. They want to make people feel that when you come here, it's going to be tough. That it's not going to be. They say it'll be rudimentary but decent accommodation.
You say about the accommodation, and they're not living in beautiful places. They're struggling, but there's an awful lot of people who own those places making a great deal of money out of their hotels that weren't doing well, and they're screwing the system.
Are they though? It's like...
They're providing accommodation.
What would you do if
at the cost that they want to charge?
To the government,
Yeah, to the government. To us, because we're paying the government.
Yeah, but what would you do if you're in that situation? You see, it's to think of the pandemic again, Pete. When they've been out of business for several years, and then someone says, well, we'll block book your hotel for the next 12 months.
Yeah, Drew.
You're just going to say, as a businessman, you're just going to say yes, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely, making money, but, we should look at who is making money out of it.
They are lucrative contracts, though, for these hotel chains, and especially in low season.
Yeah, very lucrative.
But it's not a popular move to fill your hotel with asylum seekers. It's not exactly a winning thing that you put on your website. So I think we have to remember people are struggling, hotels are empty, people aren't really able to afford to go away and things like that. When you say they're making money out of it,
well, a friend of mine's got a hotel in Singapore, and he gave his hotel to the government, and the government have paid for it to go back to the way it was. So he's got a win-win-win-win situation. Right. He's got a brand new hotel out of it.
What do you make of the ferry idea, Pete?
Of the
ferry idea? And
I think all these ideas have got to be talked about. There are, they're talking about putting a ferry a cruise ship in the docks of Liverpool for the Eurovision to give extra accommodation. So why not use something to people to live on? It is a minefield, because every suggestion that comes up, there's a group of people out there that knock it. So, but they don't come up with any ideas.
Yeah.
But they should put these people to work, because we need people working.
No, the problem with that is if they're out and about in the community in that sense and working, how many people then disappear into the system?
How many people are already disappearing in the system, in our own system?
Yeah.
Pete, should we have a look at something totally different in the Mirror? This is a story about a man who went to Ukraine to get his teeth fixed. But it is this wider issue, isn't it, about the NHS dental crisis?
Well, it's an interesting story. So desperate and went to Ukraine to get my teeth fixed. The dentist patient risked life and limb to go to war-savaged Ukraine. So that's that. It was going to cost him £1,000 for the treatment in this country. That's that. And then he's gone 1,500 miles. He paid £127 for the flight, £54 for the train trip, and then £220 for a lot of treatment he had, draining of his abscess and 3 root canals. What they don't tell you until you read further down is he's got a home over in Ukraine. He knows Ukraine inside out, and was there for 12 years in the capital. So that it's highlighted the NHS. Fine. What I would say to him is, if he'd have come up north, the dentist would have done it. For instance, Claire Sweeney, who's a lovely friend of mine, came up and had a tooth out, £350 in the north of England, £700 in London. Yeah. So he could have got treatment in the country if he wanted to. But it was a trip home, but it highlights the fact that we are stuck for NHS dentists, because a lot of them are going into private practice. But parents aren't helping the situation by giving so much sugar to children. Parents are doing so much damage to their own children, and they don't realise how much damage. There's kids of 20, or teenagers now, 21, with plates in their mouth because they've got no teeth.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a minefield.
It is getting worse.
It is getting worse.
And it's, I mean, a parent's not, I mean, it's not just what you eat, it's how you're cleaning as well. A parent's not teaching that properly.
It's a daily battle, actually, to get a 2-year-old to brush their teeth, but it's, it's a really, really important skill. I kind of go back and forth on the NHS dentistry, because I was told in central London, oh, you'll really struggle to get your child registered with a dentist. The lovely dentist across the road instantly registered him.
Wow.
And same with me, I moved from wherever to be at the same dentist as him, and I was surprised that dentists, because I've heard about the queues and the massive long waiting lists. It's not just parents feeding their children sugary food, it's the manufacturers packing our foods with sugar and salt and fat and all the unnecessary additives and all the things the hidden stuff that we don't know about. So it is difficult to know. You're not actually spooning sugar into a child, and you do see children with a bottle of squash in their pram at sort of six months old. That's horrific. Or eating a packet of crisps on the way to school.
It's interesting what you say about the dentist, because we had the same discussion about doctors last time we were on.
We did.
Where you couldn't get doctors then.
Yeah.
You can get doctors, but it's where the area you were in.
Postcode lottery, isn't it?
It appears to be. It appears. But you
we need
really must look after your teeth. Sorry.
We need a campaign. The government needs to launch a campaign fronted by Pam Ayres.
Pardon?
Yeah, I love that poem.
Yeah.
I wish I'd looked after my teeth.
Yeah.
But having said that, I remember my nana in Liverpool 20, 30 years ago saying they all had wooden teeth, wooden false teeth by the age of about 20. So let's not pretend that it used to be a golden age.
Oh, no.
Everybody used to have false teeth by the age of about 30.
That's because we never looked after our teeth.
Yeah.
My mum had 3 sets. They were everywhere.
That's what
Under
I mean.
the couch, in the cups.
Yeah.
You take your
Even in
somebody
middle
home for a
age.
date and say,
My grandma got dentures for her 21st birthday.
I know.
Exactly.
It was like
As
a
her
big
present.
It was a big thing.
And of course, my day, we used to brush our teeth like that. So I've got like fangs now because my gums are up there, past there.
Bit long in the tooth, Pete, eh?
You keep throwing me with these lines, Stephen.
Well, no, but that's what it
I
means.
haven't been on for ages. Don't try and put me off.
That's what it means, though, isn't it? Long in the
Yes,
tooth.
of course it does.
Just being factual, Pete.
Love the soup, by the way.
Thank you very
Wish
much.
they could see the pockets.
Oh, give over. Now, The Guardian, Emma, looking at Ofsted, in the wake of this head teacher who took her own life.
Yeah. these Ofsted reports, these Ofsted inspections are a bane in the side of, or a thorn in the side of any head teacher. We know that. Is Ofsted fit for purpose? That's the debate at the moment. Is the education watchdog fit for purpose? As a lot of head teachers have come out in the last week or so talking about the brutal Ofsted regime, about the fear and the terror and just the horror of having an inspection looming when the Ofsted inspectors turn up. What makes me so sad about this whole debate is I don't think I hear one mention of children. Surely it should be about the educational standards. Instead, they keep talking about the head teachers, the colleges, whether Ofsted itself. This is all politics. This is all sidelines. What about the children? What about making the schools? Isn't that the point of this?
That's the point of Ofsted.
Yeah, it should be about making it better for children. And you actually very rarely see that focus in all of this coverage.
I agree, but this is off the back of obviously the very sad news that this head teacher took her own life. But before the Ofsted result came out, but it was a bad one. But as I was saying yesterday, after talking to the Samaritans years ago about suicide, it's never one issue.
It's never one issue.
Never one issue. People are saying, well, she took her own life because of Ofsted. That will not be the. It might have been the last straw.
It's not fair to pick on an individual's mental health circumstances in that way and then blow up the whole of Ofsted.
Yeah.
And I think, we have to look at this whole government sort of targets culture whereby you say everybody will be seen within 8 hours. Well, what about the care they're getting? Everybody will have an outstanding school. Well, actually, should we look at the schools individually? Should we look at the pupils? Should we actually focus on the education rather than this thing about everybody will be inspected and you will get this grade? Because that's what puts pressure on teachers.
It's interesting you mentioned the pupils, Emma. What people forget is that each one of those children is individual. So they've got enough problems working with the children to get them an education without these big brother people on their back.
It's about the adults now, and the pandemic has really wrecked the educational landscape for a lot of children.
I hate to say it, we've got to leave it there.
What about me? What's the name story, but I can't use the word?
We'll come back to
Coming back to that.
You can do it next hour.
Yes.
You can do it next hour. Put it higher up the list, mate, as it were. Thank you both.